All right, let's get this show on the road. Today, we are diving deep into the world of Sky Gold Ltd, a leading Indian jewelry company that's been catching everyone's attention with their Make in Bharat for the World slogan. And even more so now since they just dropped their Q3 FY25 results. Talk about sparkling performance. But we're here to dig a little deeper, go beyond just the headlines you know. We want to uncover what these numbers really mean for Sky Gold's future. Is this a company that's truly ready to become like a global jewelry powerhouse?
Well, there's definitely a lot of buzz around Sky Gold right now. And you're right, their latest performance is getting everyone talking. And for good reason, I have to say.
So let's jump right in. When I look at these results, the first thing that hits me is the sheer growth. We're talking revenue up by a whopping 116.74% year on year. That's almost 1,000 crores Rs,
No.
997.97 to be exact. Their EBITDA, another massive jump, 217.60% to Rs, 57.29 crore. And hold on tight because the profit after tax that surged by, get this, 309.1% reaching Rs, 36.54 crore.
Yeah, those are some seriously impressive figures. And what makes it even more interesting, I think, is that this isn't just a one-time thing. This is the third quarter in a row that Sky Gold has posted substantial PI growth.
Okay, so we're seeing this clear upward trend, right?
Yeah.
But the question is, what's fueling this success? The managing director, Mangesh Chauhan, he points to strategic initiatives and operational efficiency. Help us unpack that a little bit. What's the secret sauce here?
Well, it seems like they've made a number of really smart moves. For one thing, they've been expanding their product lines, though, they're being a little tight-lipped about the exact details for now. But I'd say a key factor here is their focus on operational synergies. It's all about working smarter, not just harder, right? So imagine they've streamlined their design process to quickly adapt new designs for different jewelry types or different metal purities.
So it's not just about making more, it's about making it better, more efficiently, and being able to offer a wider range of products, I imagine, while keeping costs in check.
Exactly. And the results speak for themselves. It's definitely paying off.
Absolutely. And speaking of smart moves, let's talk about their venture into the lab-grown diamond market. Why is this such a strategic decision right now, in your opinion?
Well, for a couple of big reasons, actually. First, it really taps into the changing tastes and priorities of consumers. People are more and more interested in options that are sustainable, ethical, and lab-grown diamonds tend to tick those boxes.
So they're catering to like a growing market segment while also staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And it's not just about good intentions either. The lab-grown diamond market is booming in India and globally. It's a huge opportunity for a company like Sky Gold to, capitalize on.
That makes a lot of sense. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about their recent qualified institutional placement, or QIP for short, where they raised a hefty Rs, 270 crores. Now, for those of us who don't speak fluent finance, break it down for us. Why is this such a game changer?
Sure. Basically, a QIP is a way for companies to raise capital. They do this by issuing shares to institutional investors, big investment firms and funds.
Okay, so it's like this massive cash injection into the company. But with so much money coming in, how do they make sure it actually leads to growth and isn't well wasted?
That's the million-dollar question. And it all boils down to, I'd say, strategic allocation. A good chunk of it will probably go towards bolstering their tech infrastructure, but it's just as crucial to invest in people, especially their mid-management and sales teams. They're the ones who can translate this financial boost into actual market gains.
They're building a strong foundation for the future, basically. Now, it's not just about internal factors, right? They're also benefiting from some external tailwinds, like the recent reduction in import duty on gold. The managing director highlighted this as a positive for the company. So, can you explain how does this specifically benefit Sky Gold?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Lower import duties mean gold becomes more affordable for the average consumer. So naturally, this boosts the demand for gold jewelry across the board. It benefits the whole industry, really.
So, a rising tide lifts all boats, as they say. But is there a particular advantage for a company like Sky Gold in this scenario?
Absolutely. You see, when gold becomes more accessible, consumers often turn towards brands they know and trust, established names like Sky Gold. They have this reputation for quality and reliability, which gives them an edge over smaller, less established players, especially when it comes to gold jewelry.
So it's not just about riding the wave, they're actually strategically positioned to capitalize on it. All right, let's turn our attention now to the road ahead. What's on Sky Gold's agenda for the future? What are some of the key things they're focusing on?
Well, they've got quite a few initiatives in the pipeline. They're aiming to increase their capacity utilization at their Navi Mumbai facility, which makes sense given their ambitious growth plans. They're also putting a lot of emphasis on bolstering their mid-management and regional sales teams.
And how critical is mid-management to their success, especially with all this expansion going on?
Oh, it's absolutely vital. Think of mid-management as the bridge between leadership's vision and the day-to-day reality on the ground. They make sure everyone's on the same page, working towards the same goals. As Sky Gold scales up, having a strong, capable mid-management layer becomes even more crucial.
And what about those regional sales teams? What's the reasoning behind strengthening them specifically?
Well, remember, Sky Gold's products are sold in over 2,000 showrooms all across India.
Right. They have a pretty extensive network.
Exactly. And to really reach those diverse markets, to capitalize on local demand, you need strong regional sales teams. They're the boots on the ground, building relationships, understanding those regional nuances, and ultimately driving those sales.
So it's all about maximizing their reach, making sure their jewelry is actually getting into the hands of customers. And they're also optimizing their financials through, I believe it's called gold medal loans, right?
That's right. They're using their existing gold holdings as collateral, essentially, to secure loans at favorable interest rates.
So they're kind of using their existing assets to their advantage. But how does this work in practice, and what are the advantages for a company like Sky Gold?
It's like this. They're tapping into the value of their inventory by using gold reserves as collateral. They can get loans at much lower interest rates than traditional financing.
So clever way to cut borrowing costs and free up capital for other things, like maybe expansion or research and development.
Exactly. It's a very savvy financial move that strengthens their position, gives them more flexibility.
It sounds like they've got a pretty well-coordinated plan. Expanding, streamlining, getting their finances in order. Definitely sounds like a company with a mission. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rewind a bit for those who might not be familiar with Sky Gold. Tell us a little bit about their background. How long have they been around?
They've been in the game since 2008, and they operate on a B2B model, collaborating with some of the biggest names in Indian jewelry retail. We're talking Malabar Gold and Diamonds, Joy Lucas, Kelly and Jewelers. You can find their products in over 2,000 showrooms across India.
Wow, they're not exactly a small operation, and they have that impressive manufacturing facility you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, their state-of-the-art facility in Navi Mumbai is quite a sight. It's a massive 81,000 square feet, equipped with top-notch machinery from Germany and Italy. And they've got this incredible design library boasting over 500,000 designs.
So the infrastructure, the partnerships, the design capabilities, they've got it all.
They do, and their success isn't by chance. They've built a really solid foundation over the years, and that's allowing them to grab these new opportunities and solidify their position in the organized gold jewelry market.
So we're looking at a company that's not just riding the wave, but actively shaping its own destiny.
Exactly. They're not just reacting to trends, they're anticipating them, innovating, and strategically positioning themselves for the long haul.
This is shaping up to be quite a fascinating deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground already. But let's take a quick pause here, and when we come back, we'll explore some of those broader forces shaping this industry and what Sky Gold's ambitious plans could mean for the future of jewelry. Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Sky Gold Ltd.
We're picking up where we left off, exploring what's driving this company forward and what their ambitious plans could mean for the future of jewelry.
Right before the break, we were talking about their investments in technology, human resources, and also their efforts to optimize their finances.
Yeah, it seems like they're really covering all the bases. I'm particularly curious about their tech investments. What are they doing on that front?
Well, a big focus for them is implementing these IT solutions and also enterprise resource planning systems, ERP for short.
ERP. Okay, paint me a picture here. How does that work in a company like Sky Gold?
You can think of ERP as the central nervous system of their operations, basically. It connects and manages everything, from inventory and production to finances and customer relationships. Streamlines processes, automates tasks, provides real-time data insights across the entire company.
So it's about creating this more connected and efficient operation, which is crucial for a company with such big growth goals.
Exactly. This kind of technological integration allows them to scale up effectively and to make data-driven decisions. It's a smart investment for a company aiming to become a major player globally.
Speaking of investments, they're also focused on strengthening their mid-management and regional sales teams. Why the emphasis on those specific areas?
Well, as Sky Gold grows, having strong leadership at all levels becomes, well, increasingly important. Mid-management plays this crucial role. They translate the company's vision into action, motivate teams, ensure everything runs smoothly.
So they're like the linchpin between the strategy and the actual results.
Precisely. And then you have the regional sales teams. Remember, Sky Gold's products are in over 2,000 showrooms all over India.
Right, it's a huge and diverse market.
Exactly. So you need those strong regional sales teams to navigate those different markets, to understand what local customers want, to build those relationships with retailers.
They're the ones on the ground making those connections that turn into sales. Makes sense that Sky Gold would prioritize those teams as they expand.
Absolutely. They're investing in the people who are directly driving their revenue growth.
Now let's circle back to that strategic use of gold medal loans. I'm still not quite clear on how this works as a financial tool and what the specific advantages are for a jewelry company.
It can be a bit complex, but it's a smart strategy.
So break it down for us.
Essentially, they're using their existing gold inventory as collateral to get loans at better interest rates than, traditional financing.
So they're unlocking the value of their assets to fuel their growth in a way.
That's a great way to put it. It gives them easier access to capital at a lower cost, which is crucial when you're growing as fast as they are. Really shows their financial savvy.
It does seem like Sky Gold is being very strategic with their operations, their finances. But let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture for a moment. What are some of the key trends, the market dynamics that Sky Gold needs to navigate in this, constantly evolving world of jewelry?
Well, one major trend is definitely the shift in consumer preferences. Younger generations, they're more and more interested in pieces that are personalized, unique, things that reflect their own style, their values.
So it's not just about following the crowd anymore. People want jewelry that tells their story.
Exactly. So this means Sky Gold has to be agile, innovative with their designs, offer customization, stay ahead of the trends.
And speaking of changing values, we can't ignore the growing demand for, ethically sourced, sustainable jewelry.
Absolutely. Consumers are way more aware now of the environmental and social impact of what they buy. They're looking for brands that align with their values, and this is probably a big reason behind Sky Gold's move into lab-grown diamonds.
Makes sense. It's a way to cater to this growing segment of, conscious consumers. But it's not just consumer preferences that are changing, right? Technology is also shaking things up in the jewelry industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One major disruption has been the rise of online jewelry retailers. It's created a much more competitive landscape for traditional stores.
The ones that actually carry Sky Gold's products.
Right, so how does Sky Gold adapt to this shift towards online retail?
That's the question.
They need to make sure they have a strong online presence, a really seamless digital customer experience, maybe partnering with existing platforms or creating their own e-commerce channels. It's about meeting the customer where they are. And more, that's online.
It seems like they need to strike a balance between supporting their existing retail partners and embracing this digital world.
That's the challenge, and it will be interesting to see how they approach it. But there's another tech disruptor on the horizon that we should talk about: 3D printing.
3D printing jewelry. Sounds futuristic. How does that even work?
It's becoming more mainstream than you might think. They use computer-aided design, or CAD, to create a digital model of the jewelry. And then that model is sent to a 3D printer, which builds the piece layer by layer using precious metals or other materials.
So instead of traditional casting, they're basically printing the jewelry. What are the advantages of this technology?
Well, several, actually. 3D printing gives you more design flexibility so you can create really intricate details, personalized elements that might be difficult or even impossible with traditional methods. Plus, it speeds up production, reduces waste. It's a more efficient, more sustainable way to manufacture jewelry.
It does sound like a potential game changer. Do you think Sky Gold is getting on board with 3D printing?
Hard to say for sure, but they're definitely aware of it. And as a company that's all about innovation, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already exploring it, maybe even using it to some extent.
Fascinating to see how technology is reshaping this whole industry. But let's bring it back to Sky Gold for a moment. Given all these trends, all these challenges, how well positioned are they to actually succeed in this market?
I'd say they're in a pretty strong position overall. They've shown that they're committed to innovation, both in their designs and their business strategies. They're embracing new tech, like lab-grown diamonds, streamlining their operations.
They're also smart about allocating capital, strengthening their workforce. taking advantage of those favorable market conditions, like that reduced import duty?
Right, they're ticking a lot of the right boxes.
Hmm.
But of course, no business is without its risks.
Right, there's always another side to the coin. What are some of those potential pitfalls that they need to be aware of?
Well, the competition in the jewelry market is fierce. That's a given. They have to keep innovating, differentiating themselves to stay ahead.
They can't get complacent, especially with all these new players constantly entering the market.
Exactly. They also need to manage their growth carefully. Expanding too quickly without the right infrastructure, the right people, that could lead to problems.
And don't forget about gold prices. They can be pretty volatile.
That's a key factor to watch for sure. They need to have strategies in place to handle those fluctuations. And we can't overlook the risks associated with their move into lab-grown diamonds.
That's right, it's still a relatively new market. What are some of the specific challenges they might encounter there?
Consumer acceptance is a big one. Demand is growing, but there are still people who prefer mined diamonds.
So there's an education element there. They need to convince people of the value and quality of lab-grown diamonds.
Exactly. And they also need to be ready for even more competition because the barriers to entry are lower in the lab-grown market compared to mining. So we'll probably see more companies jumping in.
It sounds like Sky is navigating a pretty complex landscape with both big opportunities and potential risks. But overall, do you think they're on the right track?
I do. They seem to have a good grasp of the market, and they're clearly willing to adapt, to innovate. They're making strategic moves to capitalize on trends and mitigate risks. Of course, only time will tell how it all plays out.
That's a good point. No crystal ball here, but it's clear they're being proactive.
Exactly. They're not just letting things happen, they're shaping their own future. And that's what makes them so interesting to follow.
Well said. We've covered a lot today. From Sky Gold's impressive financials to their strategic moves and those broader trends shaping the jewelry industry. But there's one more thing I want to touch on before we wrap things up.
I'm intrigued. What's on your mind?
We talked a bit about their Make in India for the World slogan, but I'd like to delve deeper into what that actually means. It's more than just a catchy phrase, wouldn't you say? It speaks to something bigger happening in India.
Absolutely. That slogan embodies a whole movement, a real drive to make India a global manufacturing powerhouse. And Sky Gold, well, they seem to be a perfect example of that ambition.
Let's explore that idea further when we come back for the final part of our deep dive into Sky Gold Ltd. And we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into Sky Gold Ltd. You know, before the break, we were talking about their Make in India for the World slogan and how it's more than just like a marketing tagline.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It really reflects this broader shift happening in India, this real push to make the country a major player in global manufacturing.
And Sky Gold seems to be like a prime example of that ambition in action.
I'd say so. They're producing high-quality jewelry right there in India, using advanced tech, a skilled workforce. And they're not just focused on the domestic market either. They're exporting, competing on a global scale.
So they're not just like contributing to India's economic growth, but also boosting its reputation as a manufacturing powerhouse.
Exactly. Sky Gold's success is a great example of what Indian manufacturing can achieve. It shows that Indian companies can be right up there with the best in the world when it comes to quality, craftsmanship, innovation.
That's a pretty powerful message, especially in today's globalized world.
It definitely challenges the traditional pecking order in the jewelry industry.
Yeah, it's not just about participating anymore, it's about leading the way. And let's not forget the social impact either. Sky Gold is creating jobs, supporting livelihoods, contributing to those local communities.
Absolutely. And their commitment to ethical sourcing, sustainable practices, that just amplifies their positive impact even more.
So it's not just about profits for them. They're creating value for their employees, their partners, the communities they work in.
Sky Gold's journey is a really great example of how business can be this force for good when it's done responsibly, ethically. It's about economic growth, sure, but also social impact, national pride.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway for our listeners? What should they be thinking about when it comes to Sky Gold's future?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. Sky Gold is a company with a great story to tell. They have a clear vision, a proven track record. They're operating in a dynamic industry, facing both challenges and opportunities.
And they seem pretty well equipped to handle whatever comes their way.
Yeah, they've shown they can adapt, they're resilient. It's a company worth keeping an eye on, a symbol of India's growing economic power, and a testament to ambition and innovation.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll bring our deep dive into Sky Gold Ltd. to a close. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep seeking out those hidden gems of knowledge.